हाँ, जो सवाल पहला वाला था ना कि अमेंडमेंट्स का क्या है, तो नेचुरली यू शुड बी अवेयर ऑफ द अमेंडमेंट, और अगर जरूरत है तो कह भी सकते हैं कि इसका स्कोप वाइडन किया है, नैरो किया है, जो भी कुछ किया है नए अमेंडमेंट के हिसाब से। पर उस वक्त में ये लॉ लागू था फॉर वॉट एवर प्रिंसिपल, यू टू फाइंड आउट कि व्हाट प्रिंसिपल्स में क्या होगा। तो अगर जो कॉज ऑफ एक्शन जब उठता है तो नॉर्मली वो वाला लॉ अप्लाई होता है। अगर शादी सपोज पहले हुई है और अगर लॉ में नहीं लिखा है कि नया लॉ अप्लाई होगा, तो उनका वही लॉ लागू होगा। सो इट्स ऑल अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट, क्योंकि
मैम
रिस्पेक्टिव एप्लीकेशन कुछ लॉज की हो सकती है। अब जैसे जो कोपासरी का लॉ आ गया, जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने अब लेटेस्ट दे दिया, तो वो तो
यस
पुरानी जो
यस मैम, यही वाला है।
हाँ, जो पिटिशंस पुराने चल रहे हैं, वो तो जो उसमें अगर पार्ट सपोज पहले कोपासरी प्रॉपर्टी डिवाइड हो गई, लड़की को दिया नहीं क्योंकि फादर की डेथ हो गई थी फला तारीख तक में, और उसने अब भाई ने प्रॉपर्टी बेच दी है, तो जो मामले फाइनल हो गए हैं उनमें तो कुछ नहीं होगा, पर जो पेंडिंग है वो तो नया लॉ ही लागू होगा, क्योंकि वो कहता है लागू होगा। So you have to look at the legislation or the interpretation of whatever you're looking at. That what is it that the law is saying? Will it have retrospective effect? But will not have retrospective effect. Criminal law में ordinarily the principle is that they will not have a retrospective effect. Article 20 कहता है ना that punishment applicable on the date of the offense only can be applied. जी।
मैम एक्चुअली 2014 में वो पिटिशनर डाला है, जिसे केस के हिसाब से 2014 में उसने रिट पिटिशन हाई कोर्ट में डाला है। तो मैम
जी।
उस हिसाब से मैं 2020 का अमेंडमेंट उसमें लगाऊंगा या फिर नहीं? सक्सेशन का ही है मैम, तो उसमें कंफ्यूजन हो रही है।
तो आप लॉ की सर्च करो ना।
मैम 2014 का सब मैम दोनों पता है मैम, 2020 का भी पता है और उससे पहले का भी पता है। तो मैम
नहीं, तो जो
2020 वाला
जो 20 में जो चेंज हुआ है वो उसका लेजिस्लेशन में चेंज हुआ है कि इंटरप्रिटेशन में चेंज हुआ है?
मैम इंटरप्रिटेशन में ही चेंज हुआ।
इंटरप्रिटेशन में हुआ है।
यस मैम। और मैम पहले
हाँ, तो
वो
अगर
मल,
इंटरप्रिटेशन में हुआ है तो उसको जजमेंट को पढ़ो, उसमें क्या लिखा है उन्होंने, उसमें लिमिटेशन वगैरह लिखी होंगी। और सीधी सी बात है, आप कहोगे सपोज आपको फेवर करता है तो आप कहोगे लगेगा, दूसरी पार्टी का ये नहीं लगेगा, तो उसमें ही आपने रिसर्च करनी है कि अगर ये सिनारियो है तो इसमें पुराने जजमेंट या लेजिस्लेशन क्या कहता है कि अगर इस तरह का केस पेंडिंग है तो किन केसेस में नया लगेगा, किन केसेस में पुराना लगेगा। दिस इज अ रिसर्च क्वेश्चन फॉर यू। इसका कोई रेडीमेड आंसर होगा तो फिर तो केस कैसे बनेगा?
ओके।
जो होता है ना पेंडिंग केसेस में क्या होना है, तो उसमें बहुत सारे केसेस है। पेंडिंग केसेस में कैसे तरह का लॉ लगेगा, तो आप पेंडिंग केसेस के बारे में एप्लीकेबिलिटी ऑफ अमेंडमेंट ऐसे करके सर्च करो, ढूंढो, मिलेगा।
ओके।
और आपको डिफेंड करनी है अपनी पोजीशन, जो भी आपकी आपकी पोजीशन है, आपको फेवर करता है कि नहीं लगेगा, तो आप वो वाले केसेस को ढूंढो। और ये भी देखो कि आपके अपोजिशन में कौन से केसेस जा रहे हैं, तो सिर्फ लॉ लॉ पे मत जाओ ना, उस इशू पे, that if amendment has taken place, whether it will apply to the existing cases or not, in what cases it will apply, in what cases it will not apply.
यस।
तो रिसर्च इशू बना लो उसका अपना, उसके हिसाब से रिसर्च करो, बनाओ। ठीक है।
यस मैम।
हाँ, so today we want to talk about how to build up.
Ma'am, one question, please.
जी।
Ma'am, in the mock trial, it is up to the prosecution whose examination in chief they want to do first. Like if I am 2 and I have to cross-examine 1A, so
हाँ, आपस में
if
कर
they
सकते हो,
want,
कौन पहले करेगा कौन बाद में करेगा, दैट्स नॉट एन इशू।
so we have to prepare the cross of both. Like if
एक
2B
पार्टी
is
एक का करेगी तैयार, एक पार्टी दूसरी, एक स्टूडेंट एक क्रॉस तैयार करेगा, दूसरा स्टूडेंट दूसरा क्रॉस तैयार करेगा। every single student has to perform examination chief, also has to perform cross examination, and has to present one of the two arguments. One and the team of two will present arguments on facts, the second student will present arguments on law. तो हर जना 3 चीजें करेगा, 5-5 कितने नंबर की हैं, 3-3 10-10 नंबर की हैं। 10 नंबर आपके एग्जामिनेशन चीफ पे हैं, 10 नंबर क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन पे हैं, और 10 नंबर प्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट पे है। So every
मैम
single
ओपनिंग
student has to do all the three.
ओपनिंग और क्लोजिंग स्टेटमेंट भी दोनों देंगे?
इन अ शॉर्ट फॉर्म अपने जो ओपनिंग आपकी फैक्ट्स की है उसकी ओपनिंग लॉ की है वो देंगे ना दोनों ही। इंडियन सिस्टम में बहुत ज्यादा एम्फेसिस ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट पे सेपरेटली नहीं है, बट सर्टनली जब भी हम कोई भी प्रेजेंटेशन देते हैं तो हर एक में ओपनिंग होती है, हर एक में क्लोजिंग होती है, तभी तो आपका आर्ग्यूमेंट कंप्लीट हो, तो इन बिटवीन कैसे छोड़ दोगे? तो इन दैट सेंस ये देयर विल बी ओपनिंग ऑफ द आपके क्या फैक्ट्स इंपॉर्टेंट है प्रूव करने के लिए, और बाद में कहोगे कि ये हमने फैक्ट्स इस एविडेंस से इट इज अपरेंट दैट दिस फैक्ट्स हैव बीन प्रूव्ड, or other side may not prove, whichever way you want to, whichever, but of course you will have to have that. अच्छा, the other thing I have is हमारी ट्यूसडे की मंडे की क्लास तो है जितने बजे बीच में तीसरी चौथी थर्ड क्लास है शायद, मगर जो हमारी ट्यूसडे वेडनेसडे थर्सडे की क्लास है, सो आई सजेस्ट कि हम 1:30 से मिलते हैं, सो दैट यू आर फ्री बाय 3 o'clock, क्योंकि वो हमें ज्यादा तो लंबी लगानी पड़ेगी। So instead of meeting at 2, we will meet at 1:30. तो मैं नोटिस उसमें भी डाल दूंगी, जो लोग नहीं आए उन्हें भी पता चलेगा। सो बट फॉर द होल ड्यूरेशन ऑफ एटलीस्ट द मॉक ट्रायल। अच्छा, मॉक ट्रायल में आप लोगों का टाइम सही लग रहा है? 40 minutes for both the sides, but the other option is again to have extra class. हम लोग आपको ज्यादा टाइम दे सकते हैं अगर आपको लगता है कि नहीं आपके लिए टाइम बराबर नहीं है, पर मेरा तो एक्सपीरियंस ये रहा है कि देर में ज्यादातर बच्चों का इतने टाइम में हो जाता है। कुछ 2-4 होते हैं जो ज्यादा आर्ग्यू करना चाहते हैं, मगर मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स आर एबल टू फिनिश देयर एवरीथिंग, क्योंकि इसमें मिले ना आपके करीब 11 मिनट मिल रहे हैं हर बच्चे को हर पूरा परफॉर्म करने के लिए, तो आपको टाइम मैनेजमेंट भी देखना ही है साथ में। अगर मॉक ट्रायल में अगर अभी हमने 40 मिनट्स रखे हैं और दिस इज काइंड ऑफ अ बिट टाइट, दैट्स आई विल एग्री विद, सो इसलिए हमारा थोड़ा टाइम ज्यादा लग सकता है इसमें। पर अगर हम एक एक घंटे का एक एक टीम 4 लोगों को एक घंटे का टाइम मिल गया, तो एवरीबडी वुड हैव अबाउट 15 मिनट्स। फिर हमें एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस मतलब हमें 1 बजे से क्लास लगानी पड़ेगी 1:30 बजे के बदले। We are open to that, we can do that, otherwise we'll stick to the time that we have prescribed. So we will not open, we are okay with that, we'll stick with 40. Okay. Any other question on exam? Otherwise we will talk about building arguments.
मैम क्लोजिंग और ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट में क्या, एक बार थोड़ा सा ब्रीफ बता दीजिए।
आस्था बताएंगी, उन्होंने इंट्रोड्यूस किया ना कॉन्सेप्ट, आस्था बताएंगी।
ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट में बताना होता है कि प्रोसिक्यूशन या डिफेंस जो है वो क्या क्या प्रूव करेगा, क्या क्या विटनेस लेकर आएगा और केस को किस तरफ लीड करेगा। फिर क्लोजिंग में बताना होता है कि आपने क्या क्या करा और उससे क्या क्या प्रूव हो रहा है और क्यों फैक्ट फाइंडर को या जज को जो है आपकी तरफ आपके फेवर में जजमेंट देना चाहिए।
देखो जैसे फिल्मों में नहीं होता है, पूरा आर्ग्यूमेंट में बात करता है कि वो जज का भी जजमेंट आता है ना, क्या हिंदी का सेंटेंस रहता है, इन सारी गवाहियों को देखते हुए इसको सजाए मौत दी जाती है, कुछ ऐसे से कहते हैं ना, वो क्लोजिंग स्टेटमेंट होती है।
तमाम गवाह
सारे सबूत, हाँ
मद्देनजर
वही वाला
तमाम गवाहों को मद्देनजर रखते हुए।
हाँ, तो ये हमने प्रूफ कर दिया, तो इन सब की स्टेट या आपकी क्लोजिंग स्टेटमेंट होगी। ओपनिंग में ये कहते हैं कि हम एग्जामिन करेंगे इसकी जितनी गवाहियां हुई हैं उनको कंपेयर कंट्रास्ट करके, फिर हम आपको प्रूव करेंगे कि जो फैक्ट्स इस कन्विक्शन के लिए जरूरी है वो हमारी साइड में, ड्यूटी साइड में आपको प्रोसिक्यूशन नहीं है, डिफेंस में जो भी है। अगर प्रोसिक्यूशन में तो बोलो कि प्रोसिक्यूशन हैज प्रूव्ड द नेसेसरी फैक्ट्स बाय द एविडेंस गिवन इन द कोर्ट, तो ये आपकी ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट बस एक सेंटेंस में भी चल जाती है आपकी। उसके बाद में आप कहोगे कि एविडेंस इसकी गवाही या उसकी गवाही या एविडेंस उसका। अभी हम लोगों ने डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस का तो कॉन्सेप्ट इस्तेमाल नहीं किया है। रियल कोर्ट में तो डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस भी होता है कि अगर जैसे उसका केस है ना मुकेश वाला, नहीं मुकेश का है कि आई थिंक मुकेश वाला केस है ना, जिसमें वो हाथ में चाबी लिए रहता है, तो वो चाबी भी आपकी गवाही में जाएगी, वो आपका एविडेंस का पीस हो जाएगा, वो डॉक्यूमेंट्री एविडेंस होता है। कि ये था, ये शार्प था नहीं, अब चाबी भी तरह तरह की चाबियां होती हैं, छोटी चाबी थी, बड़ी चाबी थी। सो लॉट्स ऑफ क्वेश्चंस कैन बी आल्सो बिल्ड अप अराउंड दैट। हम लोग सिर्फ ओरल एविडेंस की बात कर रहे हैं, उस पे हमारी प्रैक्टिस लिमिटेड है। तो आपने एक बार ये कह के कि हम जो है इन इनकी गवाहियों के माध्यम से we will prove that these facts have been established. So, and these have not been contradicted on the other side also, or the contradiction is not reliable, or the statement of the other witness is not reliable. So, we will examine the witnesses, the statements of these many witnesses on this side and these many witnesses on the other side. ऐसे करके आप opening कर सकते हो और closing में बोलोगे that it is apparent from the evidence from the oral testimony of these many witnesses that this XYZ fact has been proved, and therefore conviction must come. These are the facts required for these facts are required for attracting such and such section, and therefore the judge must apply this section. फिर दूसरा वाला section की interpretation देगा कि जो हमने फैक्ट्स प्रूफ किए हैं वो कौन कौन से कंपोनेंट ऑफ द सेक्शन को प्रूफ करते हैं। ठीक है, टेक इट एज अ गेम। ये तो ज्यादा सीरियस होने की जरूरत नहीं है, ये आपका प्रैक्टिस ही चल रही है ना, आप सब सीख रहे हो। कोर्ट में नहीं होती जिसके किसी की जिंदगी खराब हो जाएगी, ये सारा आपका एग्जाम ही है और आपकी भी खराब नहीं होने वाली है जिंदगी। So don't worry too much. Take it in a spirit of learning. अभी तक आपने फिल्में देखी हैं तो उसने उतने ज्यादा फिल्मों से कॉपी करने की जरूरत नहीं है कि आपने वैसा वाला स्टाइल और पूरा उस तरह का लॉयर का वैसा वो सब जो लॉयर्स बहुत तरीके की चीजें करते हैं। अगर कहीं आप पहले इस्तेमाल करना चाहते हो मनाही भी नहीं है, बट it's not a film that's happening, that's for sure. So you have to maintain that seriousness of the exam, but with a spirit of learning. Don't get too apprehensive about the exam.
मैम
जी,
जैसे कि मेमोरियल सबमिट करने में दो लोग हैं, एक अप्लेंट है, एक रिस्पोंडेंट है, तो मेमोरियल प्रिपेयर करना है तो जैसे मैं रिस्पोंडेंट हूँ तो उस बेसिस पे तैयार करना है या फिर दोनों बेसिस पे?
नहीं आपने सिर्फ रिस्पोंडेंट एक साइड का करना है सिर्फ।
अच्छा, और लास्ट में
जो साइड आपको अलॉट हुई है वही साइड करनी है आपने।
हम जैसे मूड प्रॉब्लम में लिखा हुआ था कि मेमोरियल इज टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड बाय ओनली वन पार्टी।
तो पार्टी हमने दे दी ना आपको कि आप कौन सी साइड की पार्टी हो।
ओके,
किसी भी साइड हो करना है, मेमो प्रिपेयर है,
एक ही साइड में करना है, जिस साइड को आपको मिली है, जो साइड मिली है आपको वही साइड करनी है आपने तैयार। और अगर जो प्रेयर जब हम करते हैं तो हमें दूसरी साइड के बारे में सोचना पड़ता है। डॉक्यूमेंट हमारा अपनी साइड से होएगा, पर आप सोचोगे तो ना कि दूसरा साइड क्या कहने वाली है, तो उसका जवाब भी पहले से लिख के रखोगे। ये आपका सोचने का तरीका है, रिसर्च का है कि अगर आप दूसरी साइड में होते तो क्या क्या करते। आपको वो सब लिखना नहीं है अपने मेमोरियल में। जो काफी कॉम्पिटिशन्स होते हैं उसमें दोनों साइड से मेमोरियल देने होते हैं। हम दोनों साइड से नहीं मांग रहे हैं, आपको सिर्फ एक साइड का मांग रहे हैं, पर उसको अच्छा बनाने के लिए आपको दूसरी साइड का प्रिपरेटरी काम तो करना ही पड़ेगा।
तो उसके लिए तो मैम लास्ट मोमेंट में वो एक्सचेंज होगा ना वो मेमोरियल?
वो तो आपका जिसको बोलते हैं ना कि ओवरनाइट जितनी आप रिसर्च करोगे कि आपने कोई सा पॉइंट नहीं सोचा उस वक्त में, मगर दूसरे साइड ने कोई पॉइंट दिया है, तो आपने जब मेमोरियल एक्सचेंज करोगे तो आपने सब यही देखना है कि जो उन्होंने कहा है वो हमने सबका जवाब दे रखा है पहले से कि नहीं दे रखा है। नहीं दे रखा है तो वो सोच लो, ओवरनाइट रिसर्च करो कि अभी इसमें हम कल को ओरल में और एडिशन में क्या कहेंगे।
Can we have extra class for these queries and doubts?
कल एक्स्ट्रा कर सकते हैं, कब एक्स्ट्रा करना चाहते हो?
मैम ऑल्सो मैम मतलब मैम मूड के प्रोसीजर से बहुत सारे बच्चे वी आर नॉट अवेयर, क्योंकि काफी सारे बच्चों ने कभी मूड करा ही नहीं है, तो मैम
अभी कल होगा ना डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन।
ओके मैम। एंड मैम मॉक ट्रायल में जैसे दो लोगों की टीम है तो ओपनिंग एंड क्लोजिंग स्टेटमेंट दोनों को अलग अलग देना है या एज ए टीम सबमिट करना है?
अपने अपना करोगे ना, अपने अपने जो ओपनिंग फैक्ट्स में भी करोगे, ओपनिंग लॉ में भी करोगे।
ओके मैम।
मैं दोनों साइड बोलेंगे।
मैम मेमोरियल ड्राफ्टिंग का फॉर्मेट एक बार शॉर्ट में बता दीजिएगा।
वो मैंने शेयर किया है।
हाँ मैं पीपीटी देख रहा था, बट मुझे लग रहा है कुछ अगर उसमें कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा था मैम।
फिर क्लास का वीडियो देखो फिर से।
किस अप्रोक्स किस डेट पे होगा ये मैम?
अब ये भी मैं ही बताऊंगी?
15।
इतनी सारी बड़ी
मैम
क्लास है, क्लास वालों से पूछो अपने।
ओके मैम।
19।
थैंक यू।
मैम इश्यूज मैक्सिमम कितने बना सकते हैं?
आपकी मर्जी है, आप 15 बनाओ, हमें क्या है। आपके पास जितना टाइम है, आपने आपके केस में कितने इशू बनते हैं वो आप देखोगे ना।
बट पेजेस मैम लिमिटेड है ना, कि जैसे कि 20 या 15 पेजेस में मेमोरियल
नेचुरल
प्रिपेयर
बात है,
करना है।
जब आपको लिमिटेशन दे तो अपने उस हिसाब से करना है ना। ये कोई 15 दिन हियरिंग थोड़ी चलने वाली है कि आप अपने जितने एकदम 15 इश्यूज बना लोगे। हियरिंग 10 मिनट होनी है।
यस।
आपके की इश्यूज क्या है वही पे उस पे बात करोगे ना आप।
मैम जैसे मॉक ट्रायल में हम विटनेस का क्रॉस एग्जामिन करते हैं,
हम्म
तो हमने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा है जिसका आंसर यस और नो में ही आना चाहिए, बट विटनेस उसका आंसर यस और नो में ना देके स्टोरी के फॉर्म में दे रहा है, तो उसको कैसे रोका जाए?
एनीबॉडी हु हैज अ सजेशन?
मैम उसको बोल दो कि यस और नो में ही आंसर होगा।
हाँ, कभी
क्लोज
कभी
एंडेड क्वेश्चन पूछ के।
कभी कभी वो कहेगा कि जी हर सवाल का जवाब यस और में नहीं हो सकता है। हम लोग इस वाले
मैम
सवाल का तो देना ही है, क्योंकि उसमें है ना, इसका बहुत बड़ा जोक, मतलब बहुत पॉपुलर जोक है इसमें कि जज साहब ने बोला हाँ हाँ यस एंड नो में जवाब दो। तो थोड़ा स्मार्ट था, विटनेस था, बोला सर हर सवाल सवाल का जवाब नहीं हो सकता यस एंड नो में। बोला बिल्कुल हो सकता है। कहते सर मैं आपको एक सवाल पूछ लेता हूँ। तो पूछा, अब आपकी बीवी ने आपको जज साहब को पूछा, आपकी बीवी ने आपको मारना बंद कर दिया है? इसका जवाब दीजिए हाँ या ना में। वो सिचुएशन हो सकती है, बट दैट्स काइंड ऑफ पार्ट ऑफ द थिंग, बट यू विल हैव टू ट्राई एंड से कि देखिए जो आपसे पूछा जा रहा है आप उसका जवाब दीजिए। और जो दूसरी साइड के लोग होंगे ना वो थोड़ा विजिलेंट रहेंगे कि लीडिंग क्वेश्चन ना पूछ रहे हो एग्जामिनेशन चीफ में, कोई इनएडमिसिबल एविडेंस ना प्रोड्यूस हो रहा हो, या जो इररेलेवेंट सवाल ना पूछे जा रहे हो।
मैम ऑब्जेक्ट कर सकते हैं फिर?
हाँ बिल्कुल कर सकते हो, मगर हैरेस मत करना ऑब्जेक्शन करते हुए। ये यू नो वी हैव टू आल्सो अंडरस्टैंड दैट इस क्लास में हर रेंज का स्टूडेंट है। जो बहुत ब्राइट हैं वो भी बच्चे हैं, जो मीडियम लेवल पे हैं वो भी हैं, और जिन्होंने कभी जिंदगी में पब्लिक में बोला नहीं है वो भी हैं। सो वन हैज टू बी लिटिल केयरफुल अबाउट मेकिंग ऑब्जेक्शंस। अगर आपको लगता है कि हाँ स्मार्ट बच्चा है तो आप पूछ सकते हैं, आपकी अपोजिशन स्ट्रीम उतनी ही स्ट्रांग है जितनी आपकी है, हैव अ गो, बट बी कंसिडरेट विद ईच अदर ऑल्सो। मगर ये नहीं मैं कह रही हूँ कि आप मतलब सवाल मत पूछो, बट यू हैव टू सर्टनी अगर वो लीडिंग क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं, क्योंकि अभी तो हमारी कई दफा वही होता है ना, हम लोग को ख्याल नहीं रहता कि लीडिंग क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछ सकते हैं एग्जामिनेशन चीफ में। और प्रैक्टिस में बहुत कम बच्चे आए हैं, ज्यादातर बच्चे बोले ही नहीं है क्लास में अभी तक। इतना मैं कह सकती हूँ, अगर किसी का बहुत खराब परफॉर्मेंस होगा और मुझे लगेगा कि ये बच्चा फेल हो रहा है, तो आई विल गिव यू अ चांस टू रिपीट योर परफॉर्मेंस, अगर आप चाहें तो। सो दिस इज समथिंग विच इज पॉसिबल। प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम है ना, तो दोबारा से भी कर सकते हैं, उस दिन नहीं किसी और दिन शेड्यूल कर देंगे। बट इफ इट्स अ वेरी बैड परफॉर्मेंस और आप घबरा गए या बिल्कुल आवाज ही नहीं निकली, कुछ ऐसा कुछ खास हो गया, सो यू कैन ऑलवेज डू अनदर परफॉर्मेंस। उसमें हम कुछ सुबह के टाइम क्लास लगा लेंगे, क्योंकि 11 बजे के बाद मतलब 11 से हमारी तो सुबह क्लासेस ही नहीं होती ना, तो वी कैन ऑलवेज होल्ड एक्स्ट्रा क्लासेस ड्यूरिंग द मॉर्निंग्स अगर हमें जरूरत पड़ेगी।
थैंक यू मैम।
So can we now talk about building arguments? कुछ हुआ सा हो गया लग रहा है सर, क्लास में एग्जाम हो रहा है, एग्जाम हो रहा है। इतना बड़ा क्या एग्जाम हो रहा है? अरे इतने दफा जिंदगी में एग्जाम दिए?
मैं भी पहला प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम है एलएलबी
सारा
में।
रिटर्न दिया है ना मैम आज तक।
हाँ तो ज्यादा ये तो मजे की बात है ना, लिखना भी नहीं पड़ेगा। मुझे तो कोई लोग
मैं
कहते हैं आर्टिकल लिख दो या भाषण दे दो, तो भाषण करवा लो मुझसे, लिखत भी क्यों मांग रहे हो?
मैम वो इजी पड़ता है मैम, पढ़ लो याद करके फिर लिख दो मैम।
अच्छा, आप लोगों ने टॉपिक देख लिया है? आपका वो सेट हो गया है? एग्जाम का पैटर्न में क्विज छोड़ दिया हमने, क्योंकि मेजोरिटी नहीं चाह रही थी आप हमारी क्लास से, और सब ने कहा कि आपने वो क्लास में पूछ लिया तो कह रहे हैं तो चलिए असाइनमेंट ही करा लेते हैं। तो एवरीबडी हैज गॉट द सेम टॉपिक। इसका मतलब है कि सबको अपना अपना लिखना पड़ेगा, और ये टॉपिक आपको नेट पे नहीं मिल सकता। अपने बारे में ही लिखना है, थोड़ा सोच के। दी केस कमेंट मुझे याद नहीं मैंने उसमें लिखे हैं वर्ड्स के नहीं लिखे हैं। दोनों में 750 वर्ड्स हैं। सो 600 वर्ड्स जो केस कमेंट है, 600 वर्ड्स में आप समरी दोगे केस की, और 150 वर्ड्स में अपना कमेंट दोगे। ये तो सारा ही अपना ही है। 150 जो जो दूसरा वाला असाइनमेंट है, दैट्स द होल ऑफ इट इज 750 वर्ड्स।
मैम उसके पैरामीटर्स क्या है मार्किंग के, असाइनमेंट के?
ओरिजिनलिटी होती है, कोहेरेंस, प्रेजेंटेशन।
Ma'am, if I've explained the case in less than 650 words or more than 650 words, and it was required for, like, if I can suffice it in 500 words, or if I actually need 750 words
देखो
for
15
explaining
ना,
the
देखो 20-30 वर्ड्स इधर उधर हो जाते तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। पर ये नहीं है कि हमने 750 बोला और आप 1500 वर्ड्स लिख दोगे, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है। या हमने 750 बोला है तो आप 200 लिख दोगे, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है। इट कैन नॉट बी टू मच वेरिएशन, मतलब एग्जैक्ट 750 हो ऐसा तो नहीं है। मगर 750 के 800 हो गए, 750 के कम तो नहीं होने चाहिए। 750 के 800 हो सकते हैं, बट नॉट 750। 750 वर्ड्स होते कितने, 2 पेज है। एक पेज में अबाउट 400 आते हैं। कुछ भी नहीं है ना, 202 पेज तो लिख ही सकते हैं, हर जना को लिखना चाहिए उसमें।
yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
चलो हो गया। नाउ वी शुड टॉक अबाउट बिल्डिंग आर्ग्यूमेंट्स। तो कैसे आर्ग्यूमेंट्स कैसे बनाते हैं, क्या करते हैं? नो फैक्ट पता चल गए, रिसर्च भी कर ली, तो अब कैसे बनाएंगे? हाउ विल यू मेक एन आर्ग्यूमेंट? लेट मी प्रेजेंट डू दी शेयरिंग। So there we go. So we already know from the research session that there are two kinds of materials. We started saying primary, there are legal materials, non-legal materials, and then within legal materials, there are primary legal materials and other. And we know primary legal materials are constitution, statutory provisions, and judicial decisions. So from there, when you look at this provision, so first of all, suppose you're doing a criminal case and the charge has been 302. So first of all, you have to find out, or if the divorce petition is there and the divorce is under cruelty, whether there is any allegation of cruelty. So whatever, if the marriage was between a Hindu and a non-Hindu, which law will apply? If they're making an application under Hindu law, will that apply? So that's the first question you have asked, that whatever are the questions, suppose you are on the responding side, or if you are thinking of applying a provision, whether that is a appropriate provision. So, for example, when you're saying that, okay, you want to plead for, as a prosecution, there should be a charge of 302. So in 302, the definition clause is 300. So which one will be the applicable clause? Will it be firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly? So you have to think on more narrow terms as to which sections, which clause, which words are relevant for your for you to know later on when you will making an argument. So first of all, examine the and form your opinion about the legal provision, whether it is suitable, applicable, can this be applied, can this govern the subject matter. So you have to narrowly talk about it. Then when you say this is the section, whether it is going in my favor or is going against me. If it is going against me, I need to look for authorities which will give an interpretation to that clause which might support my position. So whether it is supporting you or whether it's against you, if it is supporting you, then certainly you have to think that how are they, the other side, going to respond to that? Because one thing you should understand, there is very exceptionally a scenario where there will be only one Supreme Court judgment in your favor. Within the Supreme Court judgments also you'll be finding that there's some statements which don't go in your favor. And certainly, many times, we've come across scenario where the district judge says कि मुझे Supreme Court ruling मत बताओ, because Supreme Court ruling can be found on both the sides. There are lots of cases where one set of judges say one thing, other set of judges say another thing, and they have not referred to each other's cases. So you will find those scenarios, and therefore you have to certainly look for authorities against you also. So do not look for authorities in your favor, but also against, and then work out as to why this authority which is going against me is not actually applicable. That's where you will be able to build the argument, and we'll look into it now. What can you do to do that? So what can be said, if it is going against your, if it is in your favor, then certainly what is it? How will the other party meet that challenge? Similarly, if there is something which is against me, how I'm going to say that no, this does not affect my position. So you have to first determine whether the legal provision, either as a statute or as the interpretation of the court, is going in my favor or against me. Abhi hai na dekho, recent cases have come up. Now there are the same-sex people who are approaching the court. They want to get marriage registered, and the Special Marriage Act doesn't recognize it. Hindu Marriage Act doesn't permit it. The registration of marriage doesn't permit it. So now lawyers are coming up with new arguments. And some arguments are coming that now they have been recognized as legal persons by NALSA or by Navtej Singh Johar. Certain things have been decriminalized, and therefore the corollary of that will be that it has to be, you have to take a step forward. You cannot wait. So certainly, looking at, when you look at around you, the kind of arguments these days are being built for the new situations. They are not there because the law did not recognize the third. Now we have. Having recognized it, then what are the arguments you can build up to give them the equal status which the Constitution recognizes to every person? So look for support in judicial interpretations. Lots of judgments in the Navtej Johar came because of the judgment on privacy. Otherwise, the other pending case was when NAS Foundation was set aside, the appeal against that was permitted, and then a review was pending. So nothing was happening on that front. When then came the judgment in the privacy judgment. So referring to that, they said now you have to interpret the cause of the same-sex, the people who are preferring same-sexual orientation persons, same-sex orientation persons, they have to be recognized, they have to be decriminalized, and we did get a judgment. So there might be a different use of a new judgment, a new development which has taken place. So look for support in judicial interpretation. One can also look at authoritative and guiding text. So authoritative text is not a binding text. Authoritative text is by the academics, by practitioners. So they've written there, and over a period of time, when many judgments start using those texts, they're seen as authoritative. So certainly, a Dukki, for example, is not an authoritative text. But Mullah's book is authoritative text. MP Singh's constitution is authoritative text. Because these are done by renowned academicians, and their interpretations have been quoted over a period of time by the courts in various judgments and various jurisdictions. You can look at that, whether there's something. Sometimes, as academics, we write articles criticizing the Supreme Court judgment or High Court judgment. So one can make use of them also. Certainly, the other question to ask is, when you look at the same-sex marriage challenge, they are not, because the activists in these areas, one approach is make special law for us. So we have the, what is that legislation? Asta, what is the name of the legislation for the third? Asta?
Yes, ma'am. Transgender Persons
Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act. ऐसा ही है जो भी है Transgenders Act जो है. So that is saying create a new law for us. Now what are these people saying? They were when the present challenge on the same-sex marriage, they are saying this legislation is unconstitutional. So you have to the provisions which prohibit same-sex marriages is unconstitutional. So when the Constitution has equality rights, and therefore the law has to be changed. They're not saying make special law for us. So what we have presently, that we have a Hindu Marriage Act for Hindus, we have Special Marriage Act for different religious purposes. Then we have the Foreign Marriages Act for foreigners marrying. So we have got separate legislations. So one strategy could have been to say, okay, make another law for the same-sex marriages. But this is not the route they have taken. We want to mainstream. We should be recognized similarly like other marriages have been recognized. And therefore, we don't need a separate law. A law should be changed or interpreted in a manner so that we are included in that. And if you look at NAS Foundation also, no change was made. When NAS Foundation judgment came, they only read the word sex as saying sexual orientation also included, and therefore no discrimination can take place because of the sexual orientation. So these are all innovative interpretations, because the lawyers thought of the existing law, looked at this the case they had on hand, the interest of the party they had as their client, and to find out how the present law can help. If the for example, your Vishakha is an example where there was no law. So that was another fresh thinking, that if you don't have a law, and we need a law, and there is a lot of violence happening, therefore you get the Vishakha outlines. So these are lawyers which have thought innovatively and thought of new arguments by reference to these kind of approaches only that we are going to talk about today. So reports by specialized bodies. Now the Law Commission has asked for a change. Law Commission hasn't asked for a change. There is a Minority Commission. There is a NCW report. There are these data available. So there might be labor law data. Migration has so much taken place. They are suffering from this one. There are 1,000 things one can reach out to build up an argument by examining what is the literature available on the relevant field of knowledge. When I say literature, we're not talking about literature in the sense of the poetry and drama, etc. Literature means whatever are the existing knowledge available in the field. Whether this is coming from the field of sociology, it is coming from social work, it is coming from psychology, anthropology, from science, wherever it is coming from, that is irrelevant. But if you can take, I'll give an example. In America, America was permitting death penalty to children committing offenses, serious offenses. Death penalty was permissible for them till 2004. So they were not executed while they were still children, but they became adults, and they could be given death penalty in America in 2004 on the basis by reference to an offense they committed when they were a child. So for decades and long time, this was not being set aside. Then came the neuroscientist, and they presented the brain scan to say, see, the age group of 16 to 14 is actually a very, very sensitive period of growth for the brain, the physical body of the brain. It's a time when children do not have control over their on themselves. They're aware of what they're doing, but they cannot control because their mind is wired that way at that point of time. And all that has led to ousting of death penalty, ousting of this was ousting of death penalty was only for serious, very serious offenses. Then, just 1 second. Yeah, sorry about this disturbance. There's nobody else in the house to respond to the door. So, okay. What was I talking about? क्या बता रही थी?
About literature, ma'am. About literature, ma'am. Literature, sociology, psychology.
Brain scan का बताती ना. So the literature came from the brain scientists, neuroscientists, to change the law in the and then to change the whole law in the country. And they have now ousted death penalty. They have ousted now even life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Not coming with the interpretation of the law, but using the neuroscientist argument or neuroscientist reports. So available literature can come from different fields. So when we say relevant field of knowledge, the relevant field of knowledge is not limited to law alone. It may be going in very different directions. So therefore, you have to really find out from where we can find support. So looking for support in different arenas. So look for support. Physical information may be there. So we have a case in gender justice course where the petitioner has gone to the court saying that the curb on sex determination is unconstitutional. I should be free to determine what will be the sex of my child. So what will be the possibility to give an answer to that? To say, look at the statistics, how much gender bias is there. We have got so many abortions of the female fetus. We had so many, the number of female children, the girl child is decreasing. So all this data, statistical information can be used to build up an argument against the claim of the party that we should be free. So why should there be, why the freedom which have been curtailed of the parents to not know the sex of the child or not to get a sex determination done? What is the justification? From where are we finding justification? So we'll say, okay, look at the statistical information. So you might have different sources which you can locate and which you can try to tap to determine what you can use in support of your position. Finding new interpretations. So this is what, when we said, how do you find new definitions, we'll go through. But the example in Article 21, right to life, new interpretation. case after case. Maneka Gandhi started changing the whole thing. And then now we have got 1,000 things, lots of things which were part of only the directive principles have become part of fundamental rights because of interpretations, new interpretations. So how do you find the new interpretations? One can certainly look at the definition clause. Now, this is something which in LLB teaching, many times we omit to look at. We straight away don't get into the substantive part of it. We do not look at which year was the legislation passed. No, this is kind of taken for granted. It is there, but what is the importance of that year? We do not focus on. We do not, very, very exceptionally, we look at the objectives of the act. It is, these are all supportive categories to give interpretation. In Juvenile Justice Act, the opening, we got this 2015 legislation in the backdrop of the Nirbhaya case. And everybody was asking for a very strict law. Children should be hanged, children should be sentenced, this, that, blah, blah, blah. So the law came. So ordinarily, we will assume that the new law now permits for imprisonment and punishment to children. So without looking at the object of statement and object of the statement of objects and reasons for the new law, we might be misguided in this case, assuming that this law is for punishing the children. But when you look at the statement of objects and reasons, very categorically it says care, development, treatment, reintegration, all the positive words. There is no word about penalization. So that is not the object which public might think that it is there. But as a lawyer, we are not going by public opinion or what the newspapers were saying. We have to examine the language of the law. So therefore, when we find that the sections which are dealing with transfer of children between 16 to 18 committing heinous offenses, how do you link up the objective in the interpretation? So there are lots of cases there which have looked at these different parts of the statute. So when you're looking at the definition in this section, you remember in your Transfer of Property Act and in, I think, criminal law se shuru karte hain. When we go to criminal law, we have a definition of immovable property. Yeah, movable ki hai. I think immovable ki hai. So in that class also we mentioned the definition of this kind of property is this in IPC. It is different in the Transfer Property Act. It is also different in contract law. You might find a fourth interpretation in the General Clauses Act. Have you heard of General Clauses Act? Do you know what does it contain? It's a very important legislation. It should have been part of some law somewhere, but because the general clauses, we haven't. But this legislation contains lots of definitions. So if there is a word and we do not have a definition in the law that is applicable, in the legislation that is applicable, one can always draw support from the General Clauses Act definition. So sometime by comparing and contrasting the different definitions, you can narrow down the scope or expand the scope of the definition. Let's see, these words are missing and such, or these words are added in our definition, and therefore this new category must also be used. So somewhere comparing the definitions, and when you're looking at the definition of the statutes, it may also be the definitions in an earlier statute. So again, coming from juvenile justice example, we had the law previously saying child means a person who has not attained the age of 16 years. In case of boys and 18 in case of girls. So the interpretation question was, what is the meaning of attained? Does attain mean entering the age of 16 or completing the age of 16? Would you believe? I never thought that you could have a legal case of a high court level on this point itself. Everything is interpretation of words. So what does attaining the age of 16 means? So now, having gone through that phase, the new definition says who has not completed the age of 18. So they clarified, having learned their lesson from the earlier definition. So there, and also this other question which I was referring the other day, that should have attained or completed the age at what point of time? Should it be date of offense, arrest or something? So the new definition also says has not completed the age of 18 on the date of commission of the offense. So that is how comparing the definitions can lead you to give certain interpretations. The meanings of the words, certainly the ordinary dictionary is one starting point, but for our purposes, If the definitions are not there, any of the legal provisions there, even within the General Causes Act, they have a guiding force. They're not necessarily binding. So you can still consult legal dictionaries, words and phrases, and legal encyclopedia for saying that what is the construct of this word, how this word is understood. For example, again, we have the Sakshi judgment in our criminal law, where the petitioners were saying, give a different interpretation to the word sexual intercourse. The word sexual intercourse is not defined anywhere. And therefore, when it is penetration of the vagina by fingers, that should also be. What the girl was violated, the 6-year-old girl was violated by penetration of fingers by the father in her vagina in the presence of his office mates. And that was horrifying category. But at that point of time, the only law applicable was sexual assault, punishable with maximum 2 years of imprisonment. Certainly the lawyers and women were aghast at that position. So in Sakshi, they filed this petition and they said, no, the interpretation should be changed. So how did the judge react? No, this is not the general meaning in the sense which people understand. People understand penovaginal sexual intercourse as the sexual intercourse. And therefore, we and police walas understand that, the victim understands in that sense. So everybody understands the word sexual intercourse in that context, not in the context you are saying. So if you want a change, you have to go to the legislature. And ultimately, the legislature did bring that to change about. So certainly, when you look at encyclopedia, words and phrases, consult legal dictionary, etc., this is the context where we're saying that how do you change the interpretation of that word? So there are possibilities of using various sources to say a different interpretation is required. Certainly the authoritative text and legal treatise dealing with the phrases or phenomena. Now lately, very recently, we came across this speech, I forget the person's name, but we have all been talking about violence against women. So now the write-ups are that why are we talking about violence against women? Why are we not talking about violence by men? Because who is the one who is committing the violence goes hidden. So the whole focus is on the woman who is the subject matter of the violence. But the perpetrator of the violence goes away. So now we're saying that no, you have to have a different way of looking at the same thing. So we're still talking about the man battering the wife, but we are not saying, okay, we are looking at the wife only, saying, okay, look at the batterer, look at him, look at the masculinity construct. So look at the construct which is causing the violence rather than saying, oh, victim need protection, victim need this, victim need that. Nothing is needed by the perpetrator of violence. Everything is needed only by the victim. So certainly a new way to look at those things. So there's always this thousands of examples across our, across us. We are aware of what's happening around us, that every day somebody is coming with a new interpretation, new perspective, new way to look at things. And as a lawyer, that's our primary job. We had, when you look at Vishakha also, now what happened in Vishakha was Bhavri Devi rape because she prevented the marriage, child marriage in the village. She's a Sathin, and now she's gang raped by the high caste persons. The accused were acquitted in the rape charge. Lots of things out there, I'm not going there. So appeal was filed in the High Court, but the lawyers felt very dissatisfied. They felt that the issue raised in the scenario is not limited to only Bhavri Devi. This is an issue which is faced by all women, all working women. Therefore, they expanded the issue and saying the cause is more important than this one woman who has been raped or not raped. That may be the subject of that case. So ordinarily, if rape has happened, it's a narrow filing of the case to say we will file a criminal case and we will pursue that. Whether conviction acquittal happens separately, but we are talking about this victim, this offender. They expanded the issue and looked at it in a different perspective, that all women in India need protection, not only this woman needs protection. And you got a PIL there. We also got lots of PIL there because people thought of new way to look at it. They interpreted the situation differently. The same happens with the legal provision also. That when you look at that provision in a different light, you can find new interpretation. In my class, I keep on saying, in all the classes where we have a statue, that bring your statue with you. bring your case material with you. Because when you read a language, a certain language in the background of a certain specific problem you're dealing with, you will find new meanings. I was told this whole thing about the basic structure of the Constitution. How did the lawyer bring up, how did the lawyer introduce this concept which was accepted by the court? So he looked at, he was in a flight 1.5 hours. He was only looking at the amendment provision in the Constitution. So the person did ask, what are you looking at? But he kept looking at them. I'm trying to find new interpretation. That within the same words, how can I interpret to say that no, Parliament cannot change the basic structure? So then he built up his argument on the usage of the word the Constitution. So Article A and D hota hai na? So the Constitution means a specified Constitution. So you can amend the Constitution, you cannot throw out the Constitution. So the means that the Constitution should remain as it is. So there has to be something about this Constitution which is basic, which can't be changed. So the usage of the article the in that section was the basis on which he built up the argument to say that no, there is a basic structure which the Parliament cannot change in the provision of the amendments. So you can see that how lawyers have really developed good jurisprudence, legal interpretations by examining the words, by usage in the context they are used, etc. So examine the textbook, scope of those phrases. Examine if there is an earlier statute with similar words. So we say the language of the new law is pari materia with the other one, or we say that no, these are the changes which have been introduced. In juvenile justice, we have a clause in defining children in need of care and protection, which says a child who does not have a permanent place of abode or is without parents or something else, I forget now. So the word used was or in 3 clauses. The new definition used the word does not have permanent means of livelihood, does not have a permanent place of abode, and does not have parents. So then it would mean that all the 3 conditions should exist. In the earlier one, a child could be declared CNCP, child in need of care and protection, merely because if one of the 3 was present. So the change of the word in comparison to the earlier definition from or to and mean that now we are requiring 3-fold limitations on the child's existence before the child can be taken in the state care. So that is how you have to examine. When you compare the current new legislation with the earlier one, you can find whether the new definition is narrowing the scope or is expanding the scope. So it may be exactly the same, so no change has happened. Therefore, the law which was decided there, we have in juvenile justice a scenario where we had a phase when there was no law which said that when the age is being determined, so whether benefit of age can be given to the child. So the medical opinion says he is between 17 to 19 years of age, because medical opinion cannot tell you exactly how old you are. So now should this child be considered at 17, 18 or 19? So there was no law which said that. Then we got a Supreme Court judgment which says benefit of doubt, the benefit of 1 year on the lower side has to be given to the child. So which means in this case, he will be seen as 18 at the most, or maybe 15 also. So then we got a phase when a new law came in, which recognized this and provided this in the law, saying that in determining age, benefit of 1 year on the lower side has to be given to the child in determining the age. Now we got a third phase, whereby a new law came in and they dropped the provision relating to benefit of 1 year to be given or not. Now, as an interpretation, what do we say? I say that no, the earlier Supreme Court judgment was there. Then we got a statutory recognition. So statute has been abolished, but not the Supreme Court judgment. So therefore, the 1 year benefit has still to be given. So one can always look for reasoning to say, if I'm saying that under new legislation is silent, it is, if it didn't want to give, it should have made a provision saying it will not be available. So even though the legislation has been overridden, because it says repeal of the 2015 legislation, But this does not repeal the Supreme Court judgment, which is pre-existing 2000. So by that reasoning, I'm making an argument saying that no, the new legislation, despite the absence of provision being there, the benefit has still to be given because we have a Supreme Court judgment to that effect. So compare and contrast with any amendments introduced. I just gave you some examples of this. Look up the law in neighboring or other common law countries for similar circumstances. We've been looking at America में ऐसा होता है, England में ऐसा होता है, क्यों लिखते हैं वहाँ पे? Because of this problem. अभी women have been asking for equal share in the matrimonial property. And also even in the amendments in the rape laws also, there are a lot of argument that look at the legislation which has changed in the other countries with the same common law countries, or new developments have taken place when asking for amendments in the Muslim law. We keep on referring to the Muslim countries which have also changed their laws. So that is how we are building the argument, saying that look, the Muslim countries themselves have changed it. We are a secular country. We should also be progressive and promoting more equality. So that's how you build up your argument. So coming to the judicial decision, we had some discussion about it in our day before class. We said that every judicial decision given by the Supreme Court or High Court is not binding, and therefore we need to first of all identify if there is a judgment which is going against me. So I have to find out whether what the part of the judgment which is going against me has been given in what context. Is it relating to the issue before the court, or it was said by the way? So what is the issue before the court? Which court gave the decision? Is it in the hierarchy? Is it the court which binds my court? If I'm in Delhi District Court and you have a Delhi High Court judgment, then certainly there is a binding nature. But if it is a Calcutta High Court judgment, that's not binding on the District Court also in Delhi. The District Court in Delhi is bound only by the Delhi High Court and Supreme Court. So you have to also focus on which jurisdiction the judgment is coming from. If the judgment is coming from the Supreme Court, it is binding all over the country in all courts. If it is a precedent, if it is a ratio of the case. So you have to be remembering this always, if it is the ratio. And that's the important question to find out. That's where the whole discussion on precedent is important. That merely because Supreme Court has said something, because Delhi High Court has something, it does not automatically becomes binding. You have to, and that's where your basic technique of building argument or wriggling out of certain cases which are going against you lies. So which court has given you a decision? Is it binding on the court where you are pleading your case? How many judges? So you are in the High Court, you have a Delhi High Court judgment. So if you have a judgment of a 3-judge bench and you have a single judge, so certainly that judge is bound. So and suppose you have now found nothing which is going in your favor. The judgment is squarely against you. So what are the options available in such cases? So either you will make out a case that no, this is a case which needs to be reconsidered. And how do you get a reconsideration done? First of all, you have to convince the single judge. You have seen other cases. We have seen in criminal law, we have our case material. I'm trying to remember the name of the case. Either it was the Sweet Halwa case, where in Asghar Ali Pradhania kind of. There are also cases which have got a minority majority. So you have a 2-judge bench which is looking at the judgment, and both of them have got divergent opinion. So they will on their own will refer the matter to the 3rd judge, saying that one judge is favoring the prosecution, the other is favoring the defense, and therefore we need a 3rd party. So the judgment is by majority. So depending on where the Chief Justice or the 3rd judge appointing the matter will decide. Or you might have a scenario that, and again, Umesh Chandra was the example I gave you, that in Umesh Chandra they said date of offense, and then in Pratap Singh, they said, okay, this question needs to be reconsidered. So we are referring the matter to the Constitution bench. So they refer the matter to the 5-judge bench, which reaffirmed Umesh Chandra. But whenever you want a reconsideration, you have to make a request for a bigger bench of judges. and you think that the matter is so important that it must be examined by a review bench. So that's not so certainly, but in any case, if you are sitting before a 3-judge bench and the judgment is of one single judge, certainly you do not have things to worry. The 3-judge bench can even, in any case, override that judgment if they think it's appropriate. So if you have a judgment against you, which is given by one judge, and a judgment given by a division bench or a full bench, certainly will say that the single judge judgment will not apply to my case. We have an authority which is in my favor and which is by a higher group. So it may be the single judge gave a decision. So again, then what is the year? We'll come back to this also. In which year was this judgment given? So if the single judge was given earlier and then a 3-judge decision came later on, even though this may not refer to the single judge, not specifically overriding, so there might be a scenario where a 3-judge bench decision may have been overridden by a 5-judge which you are not aware, or which the other party do not know. In Arnett Das, we do know that in 2000, Arnett Das came, and then 2001 it was overridden. But after that also, till Pratap Singh, many high courts kept referring to Arnett Das to make their decision. Completely per incuriam. They did not know, one, they did not know the law itself, Umesh Chandra. Then they did not know Arnett Das, one has been overruled. So there will be so lot of judges kept referring to Arnett Das has been followed in such and such case, we also follow the same case. Arre bhaiya, Arnett Das has been overruled. So unless you do thorough research, and if you do thorough research, you will find cases which will give you enough material to argue that no, the judgment against you is not applicable, or is not binding, or is not meaning what it is argued by the other side. So then examining what is the issue, that will determine whether what the judge is saying is a ratio or not. I'll give another example. So in Arnett Das, we know the judge has ruled that the child was above the specified age on the date of offense. So therefore no further questions were required. And we said Umesh Chandra 3-judge bench, and that has been taken also. But if I examine it closely, Umesh Chandra did give this judgment saying it is the age on the date of the offense. But in the facts given in the Umesh Chandra's case, they have not mentioned what was the age of the accused child before them on the date of offense, on the date of arrest, and on the date of trial. In the absence of that information, we do not know that this question was an issue for determination before the court. And unless it was an issue to be determined by the court, and it will have an impact on the status of the child before it, it's not actually a ratio. So Pratap Singh, certainly specifically this question was framed to determine what is the appropriate date. So Pratap Singh judgment is very categorically a ratio, what they said in that judgment. But what they said in Umesh Chandra, we all said this was a ratio, this was a ratio. But actually, if we examine it very closely, we do find that we do not know the relevant information for us to determine that this was an issue before the court, and therefore this is the judgment which is binding in the similar circumstance in all other cases. So certainly, we have to ask that question, that what was the issue, and whether the statement which is going against me, statement of law, which is going against me, is a ratio or not. And this question is coming from Arnett Das only, that they had two issues, and the answer to the first question, how old was this child on the date of the commission of the offense, has rendered the second issue redundant. They need not decide the second issue. And that's what actually Arnett Das 2 does say, that it is of academic interest only. If it is not going to affect the party's interest in this case, it is of academic interest that what should be the date. Acha bhaiya, jo bachcha aapke samne hai, he's not going to get affected. He is not going to get, whatever be your decision, he is not going to be treated under the Juvenile Justice Act. Therefore, this whole question, when will it apply, doesn't matter. For him, it is irrelevant. So it is irrelevant for the accused before you, and therefore just because the judge spends so much time on it does not mean it becomes a ratio or it becomes binding. So one has to be very carefully examining the judgments. Many a times you find that there are contradictory statements in the same judgment. So even though the judge said this at one point of time, this is what they have said at the earlier point of time, and therefore you can say that this is ambiguous. And it's in this context, Palani Gaundan is a classic example. Palani Gaundan or Thabuli, one of these two cases. Look at that. So they have a judge in Palani Gaundan, I think, who is examining the previous 3 judgments on the similar issues, on the similar facts. And the one judge says that I do not agree that in this one they didn't want to decide this issue, so they were vague. This has been decided on hypothetical. So if you read the judgment again, from this perspective, that how the judge has reasoned to say that none of these 3 are of any guide to us, the previous judgment given to us, and therefore we need a third judge to come and decide this issue. So it's a very, very good judgment for learning how to say, okay, this might be 2 judgments, this might be 3 judgments, but this is not affecting my decision-making power. This is not relevant. This is not a guiding force for me at all. So you can actually pick up some lines from there. Certainly, whether what has been quoted against you is a majority, minority, unanimous decision, whether there's any contrary decisions, and very importantly also, whether my case is distinguishable on facts. Because many a times what the judges are interpreting and giving answers to is always contextual. They have this particular scenario before them, and by reference to that scenario, they are applying their mind to that scenario, imagining everything details about that scenario, and saying how the law should apply in this scenario. But if there's a change in this scenario, especially in the material fact, there's a change, one can always say that that judgment, sometimes the judgment itself says, this judgment is limited to the facts of this case. Sometimes it does not say so, but all judgments are coming in the context of the case, of the facts of the case. And therefore, it's important to also focus on what the facts are and whether the facts in my case are similar or whether there is anything, any special important change which has taken place. It's 3:15 already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we need to stop. Very quickly, what is the date of the judgment? Again, which judgment has come on by date, whether it's a pre-amendment amendment judgment, post-amendment judgment, whether it's a judgment 1923, the social mores have changed since then. So you might always play around with that. What is the time which has happened since then? So it's no more relevant in the context of today, we argue many times. So changes have happened over the period of time in statute, culture, social conditions, technology, policy, economy, knowledge base, science. Since then, lots of things might be there which may make you argue that no, that judgment should not be followed. This is time to review that line of judgment. And presently in the campaign in the US, I was watching the debate between, when they have this election of the new judge. So he's pointing out that there are these important judgments which have been very favorable to the general public. The Republicans are wanting to change that by appointing this judge. Such judgments are going to get changed. So they're Roe versus
Wade.
Roe versus Wade judgment is on the thing that they don't want to give now the same rights which were recognized to women earlier in the case of abortion. So certainly they might be putting up some reason to say why Roe versus Wade needs to change, in what has changed since that judgment came till today, and that kind of thing. So compare the status of the parties. Sometimes you want to give an extra helping hand to the weaker party, and that's the constitutional obligation also. What is the relationship between the parties? That may also, you will say that no, there with respect to the party, the child's future is involved, this is future is involved, whatever, no? That this is a very cooperative husband or a very oppressive husband. So what is the relationship between the two? When we're talking about child victims in rape cases, incest cases, certainly the relationship between the accused and the child is very important. So what is the objective of the law? So these are all the context of the in which the decision has to be made, which can help you determine what can be done and what needs to be done. So let's get back to the class. Was I not sharing?
No, ma'am.
अरे किसने बताया भी नहीं, मैं तो उसमें से पढ़ रही थी. I had the PPT before me. So okay, so that's kind of sums up that there are various ways to build up your arguments. And what I find fascinating, if you look at your transfer of property cases, so literally कहते हैं ना बाल की खाल निकालना, that you can learn from your property law cases. क्योंकि वो प्रॉपर्टी में तो लोग जो लॉयर्स आते हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा बारीकी से लेजिस्लेशन को पढ़ते हैं, how the nuances are changed and brought about. So look up your cases again, and when you look at the judgments, look at not पहले जब हमने पढ़े थे तो पढ़े थे कि इसमें लॉ क्या लिखा है. अभी try to find out how the lawyers have built up their arguments in those. What were the sources from which they built their arguments? And you will find what I've culled out is all from my readings from various judgments and all. And I kind of try to put it across that these are various ways for you to build up your arguments. As you go along, you will find newer ways. So, okay, attendance. Please mark your attendance because I don't think this system is working on my thing at all. ये तो बस 10 की attendance लगा रहा है. Please mark your attendance. Very quickly, if anybody has a question, otherwise we'll just close. It's been already 20 minutes beyond your class. Shall we meet a little early tomorrow?
Ma'am, I have a question.
हाँ, कल 1:30 बजे मिलते हैं because कल का आपका काफी crucial रहेगा for you to learn more thing. तो 2 से ज्यादा लोग present भी करने चाहिए. So let's meet at 1:30 tomorrow instead of 2. So we'll have little more time. What is your question? Who has a question?
Yes, ma'am.
जी गिरीश.
मैम लास्ट ईयर आपने कुछ फ्रेंड को मतलब डायरी बनाने के लिए बोला था एंड कोर्ट विजिट करने के लिए बोले थे कि
इस बार इंटर्नशिप नहीं हो रहा ना.
हाँ वो वही क्वेश्चन था मैम, इस बार तो नहीं होगा ना.
इसीलिए चेंज हो गया ना स्कीम, इसीलिए चेंज हुई है.
ओके ओके थैंक यू.
इंटर्नशिप के बदले तो आप सब कराए ना, आपको जो क्विज कमेंट करा रहे हैं और केस एनालिसिस करा रहे हैं और इंटरव्यू को वहां शिफ्ट कर दिया है, इसीलिए किया है.
मैम जो केस कमेंट्स है वो इंडियन केसेस पर ही होने चाहिए.
या और हम तो कह रहे हैं आप अपने मटेरियल में से केसेस लो.
मैम 2 स्टूडेंट कर सकते हैं एक केस?
हाँ जी, नहीं 2 स्टूडेंट एक केस नहीं कर सकते हैं.
ओके मैम.
फर्स्ट कम फर्स्ट सर्व है.
ओके मैम, थैंक यू.
और कोई सवाल?
मैम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लॉ से केस कमेंट ले सकते हैं मैम, केस